Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Astrology with Ethan podcast. Today, we are discussing the volatile yet enthralling and creatively delivering month of July 2026. This month, you guys, has me vexed. I'm not going to lie. There is a lot of astrological activity. There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of fire. There's a lot of finding things out. And then there's a lot of questions about what do we do with the results of that? What do we do when everything comes out? What do we do with information that we didn't have before? What do we restructure our world to be when this information allows pretty much anything to be possible? Well, we're going to find out in today's forecast of the month ahead. And before we hop into July, we need to establish what happened at the end of June. End of June had a major closeout with the ingress of Jupiter into Leo on June 30th. Now, Jupiter is the planet of expansion and blessing. And going into Leo, it really expands and blesses our ability to creatively self-actualize. Really, creative self-actualization to me is simply about getting something out of ourselves, out of our minds. And that's what the fixed fire sign of Leo really helps with. It helps, just like its ruling planet, the sun, spread the beams of inner light to other people. It's about sharing something with the world. So while the previous sign of Cancer, where Jupiter was for the past year, helped us get in touch with the depths of our souls and the imagination we carry within, Leo is now all about spreading the word and putting it out. So, what I find really interesting about Jupiter's ingress to Leo is that it's receiving a square from Chiron in Taurus. Now, Chiron is an asteroid that represents our healing journey. Specifically, I think of Chiron as the stories that we are told or we tell ourselves about healing. Now, Taurus is the physical dimension of life. It's Venus ruled, right? So it has to do with art, with beauty, with our connections to other people, with the sense of self-worth and pleasure in the physical world. Chiron here says we may have some healing to do around the Taurus part of our life. We may have to work on our self-esteem, our self-worth, or perhaps our relationship with money and the material world. Also, it could have to do with our relationships and feeling secure enough in ourselves via the Taurus archetype to let other people in, to let new experiences in, right? Taurus being that fixed earth can get very fixed in its ways. So Chiron says, where are you limiting yourself? Where are you trying to keep yourself safe when you are, in fact, a beautiful creature who deserves all the beauty and love and affection of this world? Now, in a relationship with Jupiter and Leo, they are both in an exact square right now. I can't help but think if Leo's about expressing ourselves, then there's probably some insecurity that accompanies that with Chiron and Taurus. Am I beautiful enough? Am I worthy enough? Am I doing enough? Do I have enough? Right? These are all questions of Taurus Leo that really confront us with our physical expression in the world. And so if you feel a bit insecure at the beginning of the month around these themes of self-expression, accepting your body, accepting your physical life, then you are not alone. The astrology is saying this is a challenge. Before we take up space in the world, we have to feel worthy of it on the inside. And I think that's all the Jupiter Chiron square is trying to do to help us see. So at the end of June, Mercury also went retrograde. And this is important to know because it's going to be retrograde there for most of July. It'll go direct on the 23rd. But in the weeks leading up to that, there could be a review or reset going on in the Cancer part of your chart. Cancer more broadly is about family and how we create a family or home within. So Mercury going retrograde here could really be revisiting a conversation with family, looking deeper into your ancestry, right? Having a conversation as well with yourself about what makes you feel secure, what makes you feel safe. Where are you still being triggered, right? Where are past family dynamics still playing out? There is something here also about looking at inherited thought patterns from family and Mercury retrograde really giving us that chance to either carry it forward or break it off. Not that it's that either or, but you get what I'm saying. We're becoming conscious of the thought patterns maybe we've inherited, and deciding what we think. Cancer is very much about ego, just as Leo is, because they're both the luminaries. They are the center of the solar system. So in this way, you can think of Cancer as well as Leo as the inner world. Cancer being that more private dimension, Leo being that more public dimension of how we express it. So we have to establish that going into the month of July, because these themes, of course, will continue to play out. Now, going on to July, week 1, July 1st through 5th, there is one major transit this week. And thank goodness there's only one major transit because this one is pretty major. Saturday, July 4th, Mars, the planet of aggression, and Uranus, the planet of surprise, are meeting up in the town square, in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is where we sell something, where we say something, where we learn something, where we teach something. It's a dialectical environment. Now, aggression and surprise, I would say, argue this space in our culture today most of the time. There's a lot of division, right? We talk about that on here a lot. There's a lot of taking sides. This day, though, we really need to be conscientious of saying something that could lead to an unwarranted disaster. Like this day, ask yourself, does this really need to be said? Like, can I just hold this for me? But sometimes life has us say it, and there's a lesson to be learned there. So whether you're the one saying something this day or you're receiving something this day, Uranus is the tower in the tarot, according to me. Because shocks and surprises are usually when there's a lightning bolt of insight that hits us and makes us fall from the foundations we've established previously in the world. Now, foundations, I'm referring to perceptions. The tower is a huge shift in our perception. So you might perceive yourself differently after this day. You might perceive somebody else differently, but let this shift in perspective, no matter how uncomfortable, happen so that you can be set free. Now, because we're in the realm of Gemini and Uranus is going to be in Gemini for a while, we are really working at breaking free, right? Gaining new insights around how to communicate, how to have a dialectic, how to have disagreements. How do we conversate in a culture that's afraid to conversate? How do we let it rip compassionately? How do we not censor ourselves, but how do we also say it in a way that's loving and that's kind and that's compassionate? These questions are to be brought up on this day. Now, on this day as well, America's birthday, July 4th, where the 7th house of the US is Gemini, and that's where this conjunction will be taking place. Not that this is just about the US, but I do want to say that something on the political level is going to be pretty major on this day. I don't know how much worse the news can get, but this would certainly be a signature for news. So great news. I'm also optimistic, though, that this could mean really radical social change or really good news that maybe upsets, right, the social order of one of our several corrupt governments today. Now, because this is so relevant to the US, it's the US's birthday, it's the 7th house of the US. I hope this is a win for the people. The 7th house is the people, right? And perhaps the people will rake in some more wins. Yay, New York City, all the great progress happening there, and yay across the country. I think at all levels, We are making progress, and the darkness helps us get there. But that's all I really have time to say because there's so much more coming up. Okay. Week 2, July 6th through 12th. We are hitting a bit of a dull week this week. I want to say this is a very lukewarm week. It could kind of feel like things slow down because on Tuesday, July 7th, Neptune, which has been dreaming and envisioning and bringing us towards a greater reality that we want to create. It's been going really fast in Aries, and now it's turning retrograde. So if you feel like you have been going full force towards your dream, great. If you feel like your visions are nonstop, great. That's Neptune in Aries. But the retrograde says, maybe I need to slow down a little bit. Maybe I need to review what or why I have the dream. I feel like because this month does seem so radical on political, more, communal levels, I feel like this is about asking, how does my dream serve the greater good? Not that we should be extrinsically motivated, but I feel like this does put us in touch with, like, where are my dreams isolating me? Where are they not connecting me? Where do I feel the dream is off? Where do I need to reinvestigate the whole dream, right? Now, Venus, which some call the lower octave of Neptune, Venus being about art and beauty and creativity and also love and connection, so Neptune dealing in similar realms, goes into a sign Thursday, July 9th, that it feels a bit inhibited in. Venus will be in Virgo this day. Now, Venus is far away from home here, right? Because its exaltation is Pisces, which loves to dream, which is very Neptunian. And it goes into Virgo, which is more practical, which is more reasoned, which is more about the details. So I feel like this just confirms once again that Neptune retrograde is about making us a bit more realistic, putting our feet back on the ground. And because that Neptune retrograde further is ruled by that Mars in Gemini conjunct Uranus on Saturday, July 4th, I feel like Saturday is going to connect to Tuesday, and then it's going to connect to Thursday. There's going to be maybe some disillusionment, maybe some argument, maybe some confrontation, maybe just some volatility that really forces us to slow down and rewrite the mission statement, rewrite the dream, rewrite and reconfigure what we're doing. Venus and Virgo, also a really, really, really good time to just clean house in general, just to become passionate for precision. That's what Venus and Virgo brings. It's not like it's not passionate. It's just passionate about the things that a lot of other people aren't, which is like, I used to work in the film industry, and, it's a very creative sphere, and producers are very Venus and Virgo, right? Like, they're passionate about organizing the PAs and knowing where the garbage cans go. Like, it's stuff like that Venus and Virgo gives us the opportunity to really throw passion at. The mundane, the details, the management of whatever we're doing. All right, week 3, July 13th through 19th. So Monday, July 13th, we're going to have a Mercury cazimi, which is a time when Mercury is in the heart of the sun, right? So cazimi means in the heart. And when Mercury's in the heart of the sun, it is able to gain clarity and spiritual vision and real revelation. We often forget that the sun was actually seen as a divine eye in the ancient world. It was connected to revelation, to prophecy, and to understanding the whole cosmos, right? Understanding where we fit. So when Mercury in Cancer is getting this sort of spiritual empowerment, it's able to see more clearly the family systems it's inherited, the security patterns that it contains, and the way that we take care of ourselves and what it means to take care of ourselves. How are we going to do that? Mercury cazimi really helps with this on this day. Now, it's still a Mercury retrograde, so it may not be like the clearest Mercury cazimi you've ever had, but something in that Mercury, or sorry, something in that Cancer part of your chart this day is going to be really sublime and really deliver clarity on that part of life. So look out for that this day. And then we will have a new moon in Cancer the following day. New moon in Cancer is a great day to detox, I have to say. New moons are usually, about detox, letting go, restarting. But this day in particular is going to be so good to just treat yourself to a good bath, to clean your house. I mean, Cancer is the physical dwelling, it's the physical body that we are each given to live out our soul's journey on. So, this is a great day for checking in with that body, for checking in with that home, for slowing it down, for getting in touch with the rest that we all need this month. And that week will hopefully carry a bit of that soothing balm on the body, on the physical vessel, so that we can be healed and we can feel ready to go into the end of July. Because, yes, you guys, there is really, at this point in the month, okay, we're looking at going from July 19th into 20th. We move from this period, which is still very active and still very charged, but is still kind of letting us have a rest this week. Like this week feels like calm before the storm. Because when we get into the week of the 20th, we're really starting to, I feel like, commit is what I want to say. We're going to start committing. We're going to start to feel ourselves like really having gotten this information, having gotten this clarity, like feel unstoppable. I'm going to tell you why, but the second half of July really feels like a power move period. Okay. Well, how could it not be? Because on July 22nd, that's Wednesday, Sun goes into Leo. Sun is at home, it's domicile. It's like, what I love about domiciles is it's like when you are playing a board game and your piece goes all the way around and then it makes it home. And you're like, yes, like that's the sun in Leo. It's made it home to Leo. It's made it home to where it can shine. On Wednesday, July 22nd, you start to feel capable. You start to feel like, yes, I can shine the light, that Jupiter is getting me ready to light and share with everybody. Yes, I do have what it takes. Yes, I do have the confidence. I do have the light that the world needs. So, really, on this day, be full of yourself. Get ready to be fuller of yourself. And that does not mean that we keep all of that inside. That's where the Leo archetype can suffocate. Is if it's not giving, it's hoarding. And it's not expressing. So you're going to feel with all this Leo energy moving into the end of the month, like I have to express, I have to get this off my chest. I have to share this. Okay. That ingress to Leo is followed by a very powerful Mercury station direct on July 23rd. So we've been, sorting out the Cancer stuff, security, family. Why do I feel emotionally triggered? Why don't I feel safe? Why do I feel, so many feels, when the Cancer part of my life, the Cancer part of my chart is receiving activation? What about that area of life has been so difficult for me? If you have Cancer in the 8th house, what is it about money, that I'm resolving my fears around? If you have Cancer in the 10th house, what is it about career that I need to make some decisions about? If you have Cancer in the 3rd house, what is it about my neighbors? What is it about my siblings? What is it about my community that is making me not feel like I can express or articulate myself? Right? So look at the area of chart you have Cancer in. This is an area where a lot is wrapping up, where there's a lot of final clarity and conviction coming out of. So Mercury's going to finally go direct. You're going to be feeling a bit more clear and confident about the Cancer part of your chart. Okay. And then this is what I mean by power moves. Like we're giddy in the beginning of the week, and then at the end of the week, we really dig our heels into a new journey. to a new chapter, to a new period. I'm like super smiley as I say this. It's not going to be easy, guys, but it's going to be powerful. So, Sunday, July 26th, two major astrological events happen. Saturn goes retrograde. Now, what I like about this is that Saturn is about restrictions and limitations and boundaries. When we go retrograde, we're saying, do I really need to limit myself? Do I really need that boundary? Like, do I really feel incapable? Retrogrades sort of contradict the planet that is retrograding, right? Retrograde, the point of a retrograde is to sort of take us to the opposite of whatever planet's retrograding. So when you have a Mercury retrograde, right, you're kind of being taken more over to Jupiter land. You're kind of, a little bit more in your right brain, your imagination. You're not able as much to get left brain Mercury things done. Well, it's similar with Saturn. When Saturn goes retrograde, we're not so able to be structured, to be disciplined. We could very well be reviewing, where we need a bit more structure, where we need a bit more discipline. But I'm interpreting this more as we're getting the chains off because there's so much happening in Leo. There's about to be a lot happening in Aquarius. I just feel like we are unshackling ourselves a bit from the limits. And, Saturn retrograde in Aries, this could also be, I think, healing as well, because Aries is our relationship with our ambition and with what we want to stand for in life, where we have conviction. So this Saturn retrograde allows us to perhaps reconnect with those core values that we stand on. Have we just gotten lost in the fight for the sake of fighting? What are we actually fighting for? And sometimes what we actually want to fight for means that boundaries and shackles have to disintegrate, right? It means that certain bonds, certain structures, certain relationships have to fade because our conviction makes it so that other people judge us, are, intimidated by us, whatever have you. This is a period where we say, I'm going to structure my life based on what I care about, based on what my convictions are. It's a return in a way to our own independent engine. And that's really important this week because Saturn rules our new North Node. If you guys know me, if you've been following me for a while, I'm obsessed with the nodes. And when the nodes shift, I get chills all over my body. I get so excited. The North Node is going into Aquarius. First of all, what this means is that the North Node is leaving Pisces. So the Pisces part of your chart for the past 2 years, a little over 2 years, has been changed in some major way. The North Node is where eclipses happen. It's where major increases of activity happen. It's where a big focus, often where a big change has to happen, a big adjustment. So the Pisces part of your life has had that. The nodes are also sometimes associated with karma or destiny. So you have learned the lesson, hopefully, that the Pisces part of your chart has had for you. If you're Pisces rising, Pisces in the first house, you've learned more about yourself. You've learned more about how you need to set boundaries. You've learned more about your individual wishes and dreams, right? If you have Pisces in the 9th house, then you've learned more about your spirituality, your philosophy, the greater world view you carry has changed. If you have Pisces in the 6th house, then perhaps your work life has changed. Your routines, your structure, your service, what you ultimately want to be in service towards, that's changed. So North Node leaving a sign, always an indicator that big changes are over in that period of life. And my goodness, I'm happy to have it out of my 8th house. I'm a Leo rising. I had North Node and Pisces in my 8th house. That was a really odd period. A lot of money stuff. A lot of looking at fear. A lot of psychological appointments I had during that time. So, woohoo! North Node goes into Aquarius. What does that mean? It means that the Aquarius part of your chart now is similarly going to receive increases. big changes, destiny, lessons. Okay. Aquarius in general is about the community. It's about the collective. It's about coming together. And it's about saying, how are we going to reform this? How are we going to change this? It's also the sign of learning our intellectual capacities. It's a sign where we learn how to analyze, how to detach, how to decenter ourselves, how to see things from a more bird's eye point of view. It's a sign of technology, of science, of learning reality on a deeper level. Aquarius is Saturnian, so it's about reality. It's about the greater reality we are living in. And reality, I mean, you could define on so many levels. Aquarius can, sure, be at the level of just everyday reality, or it can go into the matrix. It can shoot into like the the entire universe, right? Like that's what Aquarius is trying to understand on an intellectual level. So we're all being challenged to understand the greater whole we're part of on intellectual levels. Saturn going retrograde, Saturn being the ruler I use for Aquarius, marking this transit, says that that journey is going to require a lot of unlearning. It's going to require a lot of unlearning of um collective frameworks of logic. It's going to confront us with where we don't have a commonplace understanding of reality. If anything, I think that the Saturn retrograde does give us some challenges in the ways of the next 2 years of all becoming more collectively minded, because that Saturn retrograde can once again make us, especially in Aries, more attentive to our own camp, more attentive to our own identity, more attentive to our own ego. And it can really challenge us to just decenter ourselves for a minute and see things other people's way. So my message to you for this transit is your view matters, but so does everybody else's. North Node and Aquarius, how can you make more room at the table for the people you disagree with, for the people who bring in a whole other set of perspectives? How can we use almost that Mars-Uranus takeaway at the beginning of the month to move forward with the North Node in Aquarius? How can we be more open-minded? How can we be more inclusive? How can we unite? Because we need to unite right now. We need to, whether it's in small communities, whether it's in a big municipality, whatever your politics is, if it's on the local, if it's on the national, if it's on the global, unification needs to happen. Understanding needs to happen. And that is one thing I don't think we talk about with Aquarius enough is it is the humanitarian. It is about understanding the human dimension of things. So we can't be humanitarian if we're only looking at people as numbers, if we're only looking at people through their social media, if we're only looking at people through their political beliefs. We become the humanitarian when we transcend that, when we understand each person as their own unique, worthy, valuable, amazing being, and choose to listen to them regardless of how much it frustrates us. So keep in mind, this could be a really positive period for humanitarianism, for recommitting ourselves to the value and the beauty and the intellectual power of every individual. Okay. With the North Node going into Aquarius, we have the South Node going into Leo. So the South Node is about loss. It's about shedding. It's about decreases. So similarly, the South Node is leaving Virgo now. So the South Node in Virgo means that the Virgo part of your chart experienced some sort of loss or decrease or significant downtrend the past 2.5 years of North Node and Pisces. So now that's going to be happening in the Leo area of your life. And what I find so interesting about this is that Jupiter, which is about increase and expanse, is going to be in Leo at the same time the South Node is in Leo. So there's something here about really purifying. South Node can be purification, purifying our relationship with leadership, our relationship with our individuality, because as so much is going to be happening on that northern Aquarius node, and there's going to be a lot happening on the southern Leonian node, this whole axis of Aquarius-Leo is about how am I personally showing up in the collective? How am I doing my unique job while not forgetting that everybody else has theirs to do too? I am not better. I am not bigger. I am not worthy of more airtime than anybody else. I do deserve some, but I deserve an equal amount to everybody else. We are all in this together. That's how Aquarius-Leo axis speaks at its most optimum level. So Jupiter in Leo, I think, is really, Jupiter, I once heard by Maurice Fernandez, a wonderful evolutionary astrologer. He said that Jupiter can be about karma. Think about karma. Karma is past actions resulting in current events. Jupiter expands whatever it's in. It sort of says, this is what you got. So Jupiter in Leo could be really reviewing our relationship with our own ego, with our own individuality. And there could be a bit of like, I need to either up the volume on my own self-belief, on my own self-esteem, or am I getting a little ahead of myself? Do I need to decrease my volume? And I think we all need to practice this daily because we live in this very Leonian Aquarian world of social media where we can trick ourselves. We can trick ourselves into thinking we are the most important person to ever exist. Or, rather, in addition to that, we can think that everybody else should think like us. Not because we're the most important person, but because this is the most important cause, or this is the most important point of view. We can get very polarized on this axis of me versus them. Me or my group identity is the most important. And or me and my group identity are superior in some sense to somebody else's. Right? It's all these dichotomies of, they're not important, I'm more important, that we are going to be healing along this axis, which I'm really excited to see how this plays out, because I think it is so sorely needed, this conversation of, yes, our individuality matters. Yes, each of our own opinions and expression matters. We should all have a right to that, but we can't censor or keep out other people just because they make us uncomfortable. And through this axis, I really think it's going to be about finding the conversations, finding the common ground that shows us where we still have a lot in common. I think one of those places, if I'm being completely transparent, is an economic place that we're in. I think that we are in a time of ridiculous level profits being extracted from companies, of workers being demoted, of now AI taking jobs. There are a lot of things we're all being affected by. And it's up to each of us, Leo, to have our own subjective experience of that, but to not let that dominate or color or put down anybody else's. This whole transit is about holding my unique experience in relation to everybody else's. And through Leo, developing a strong enough ego to say, I know who I am, I know what I've been through, and I know what I believe. And therefore, I can't be shaken when somebody challenges me. I can't be shaken when somebody makes me uncomfortable because I'm just that strong and realized within myself. So that to me feels like the Jupiter South Node thing. It's like letting go of haughtiness, letting go of being inflated with ego, and having a strong, a purified ego, a deep sense of self that can allow us to participate in the collective. Okay? And week 5 of July sets this exact theme I'm articulating into sail onto the seas of the nodal axis. It really, this last week, celebrates everything I'm talking about. So Wednesday, July 29th, there is a Jupiter cazimi, which this is really exciting. Jupiter and the sun in Leo, boop, meet up. So Jupiter is now in the heart of the sun. And I think this is going to be a day where we are just feeling ourselves, where we get the vision, we get the long-term vision. We're like, this is who I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to stand for. This is what I'm going to do. This is a powerful day. It's a powerful move to say, I'm headed in this direction and you're coming with me or you're not. That's that Jupiter cazimi in Leo. It's an extremely powerful time of getting wired into the intuition, the path, right? Jupiter is the path. It's the intuition of our unique creative self-actualization and contribution. So I feel like this is a great day to really explore what it is you want to do within yourself, or just let it fall into you. It'll just fall into you this day, a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, a sense of direction. Now, the same day, and keep in mind, the nodes are already in Aquarius-Leo now. They're going to be at very late degrees of Aquarius-Leo, but they're in Aquarius-Leo now. We have a full moon in Aquarius the 29th that opposes that Jupiter cazimi. Oppositions are tensions. Full moon in Aquarius, what do we think that's all about? Collective empowerment, local empowerment, political action, change, some sort of intellectual shift that says we need to be more inclusive. We need to understand more. We need to be more humanitarian, right? Now, opposing that Jupiter in Leo, I want to say a feeling that can come up throughout this entire transit of the nodes in Aquarius Leo, but specifically this day, is, well, I have a purpose or I have a vision that other people don't appreciate or don't get. So I'm going to leave them out. Oppositions, you guys, in astrology are never, never about keeping two things disintegrated. Oppositions tell us, actually, your vision and your destiny, that Jupiter cazimi piece, is the other half of the apple to the community and what's happening politically and what's happening collectively. You on this day might feel challenged to integrate what you uniquely want, right, with what the collective wants of you. So this day, there can be kind of a feeling of an ego battle, kind of a feeling of, I want to go my way or the highway. Other people can sit it out. I'm against them. I'm not with them. They're not with me. So I feel like this month, this end of the month, it will be a powerful month for us personally, but it will only really work if we get over our fear of the community. If we get over our fears of other people not understanding us, not getting us, because what this full moon in Aquarius says is that you have a whole community who wants to come in and help you realize that dream. But are you keeping them out because you think it's too unique? It's too different. They'll never understand. They'll never understand me. Right? So that is where I'm going to leave it for today. It's a packed month. I've spoken a lot, and on a Mercury retrograde day, mind you. And it's a lot to take in. It's a big, big, big month. But I wish you the very best with it. I think you will do the very best with it. And on a final note, what I'll say is you are just so powerful. You are just so powerful. But our power cannot be sustained by just us. The image of air and fire, right? Aquarius is air, Leo is fire, is that the fire does start within. The fire is generated in the heart, in the sun. But it is the air, it is the conversations, it is the communities, it is the friendships, it is the people who spread that fire out. And it is the wind on the rays of the sun that actually allows us to be warm, that allows us to have a comforting atmosphere. So don't forget that your impact is yours to make, but it's not yours to make alone. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time on the Astrology with Ethan podcast. Please also leave a review if you enjoyed this podcast. I really would love some reviews if you're enjoying it. And book me in for a reading. Links down below, how to get in touch and how to do a reading with me. So cool. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next podcast. Bye.